Hello, everyone, and welcome to Michael Chekhov, the NMCA way. I am Lisa Dalton, president of the National Michael Chekhov Association, and I am here with my dear colleague.
I'm Wil Kilroy. I'm the vice president of the National Michael Chekhov Association.
And we are bringing you a series now on the four brothers of art, the feeling of ease, the feeling of beauty, the feeling of form, the feeling of entirety or wholeness. And we are working on perhaps a slightly new structure, which Wil is going to share with you.
All right. Well, our hope is you will follow along with us at home and try some of these. And we have some wonderful teachers from around the world actually with us today. And we're hoping they might also do a little bit of a demo of how they teach ease or use ease in their life or in the classroom or as a director. So shall we jump into this?
Yes, let's jump into this.
If you're watching and maybe you don't have tools with you or something to use, typically when we're working with the intensive, we'll use chairs because they have bulk and heft to them, and you need to move them with a sense of ease. But even if you just right now, just take your hand, and if you could just follow along and just start to move your hand with a feeling of ease to it. And we all know what a feeling of ease is. And this is Michael Chekhov's relationship to relaxation. So you might have been working with a teacher or director that has told you, relax, just relax. And it could have made you more tense. But this is an actual practical physical way to do it, because just as characters have to have intentions, you have an intention now. You're not just trying to relax, which can be sort of nebulous, but you're actually doing something. You have an action to follow. So you're just moving, and once you have one hand moving with ease, your other hands move with ease. And even if you're just sitting watching right now, you could sway back and forth with a sense of ease. And then what you'd want to do is put that into the rest of your work. So maybe you can grab, if there's a prop nearby, like a strange lamp that I have here, that you could move with a sense of ease, and it has weight at the bottom, so it's a little awkward. And when you turn it over, you can feel that change of weight. And also it has this gooseneck which moves, but you start working with an item as well. And that sense of ease will be in the way you move the item, but it will also start to permeate your entire body. And this is incredibly important. So some have said that tension is the enemy of art. You want to be able to perform from a relaxed state that still has energy to it, of course, and you are putting energy into this because you are focused on the sense of ease. So just continuing with that object and checking in with how you're feeling physically as well. And that's just a little quick demo of how you can work with this feeling of ease. And maybe now we'll hear from some of our other participants how they might utilize this sense of ease, or how they've taught it or worked with it as a director.
My entry into ease is with recognizing the beauty of my surroundings, my space, and myself. And so within a rehearsal, I will ask people to start by seeing the room. In the focal point room, in the focal points, this might be 3. So see and notice what is beautiful. And so whatever space you're in at this moment, see and acknowledge and recognize and name to yourself what is beautiful. Notice the sensation that is created in the body when you notice, recognize, and name something as beautiful. You might begin to feel expansion in the body. You might begin to feel an opening of the muscles. Then bring, when you are working with your partners, for now, we'll notice our screen as our other focal point number 2. Notice the people or the others in the space. Recognize, see, and name to yourself what is beautiful. Notice the sensation that is happening in your body. Notice the breath and the openness and the flowing of your breath as you see and notice the people that are beautiful. Bring your attention, focal point number 1, to yourself. see, name, and recognize the beauty of self. Feel and notice the sensations in the body of openness, a flow of breath and ease. And breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. And that's my introduction into a rehearsal process with ease.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yay.
And I think Ophir was in line, I thought, to jump in with something.
Yeah, we can do this with our faces and then release it. And we can do this and release it. And we can do this very tight, and we can release it. And we can contract our whole body. And when we're going to release, we're going to stand up and move. Go. Contract and release. And this feeling of releasing, and if you can go and work with broad movements and just inject your body the feeling of ease on each part. Just do this to your body, like you're injecting to every part ease, to the stomach, to the neck, and it becomes easy to move. And oil in every joint, there's oil. And you can sit down with ease.
Thank you. Eric, do you want to offer anything?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. In some ways, I use things that were right out of Wil and Lisa's playbook, including the ease relay that we've used, and those are really fun. The students love those. And also taking chairs. We have these big, heavy, clunky chairs that we use, and just trying to find a way to incorporate moving them with a sense of with music, spinning them around these heavy chairs and moving them through space with a sense of ease. And then after they move around the room with them, I have them stack them in a way that is very beautiful. And it's something, we create this sculpture of these very institutional chairs, and it becomes something so beautiful that all the students want to get their phone afterwards to take pictures of it because they're so proud of it. And they actually wanted us to post it on any of our Facebook sites or anything else. And they're really happy about it. And in fact, they upset when we have to take it apart because it represents beauty to them. In one class, I told them we have to take it down because it's a fire hazard. It's blocking the door. So we had to remove it, and it was kind of painful, but we did it in a beautiful way with ease as we removed it as well. I've not only lectured about what we know of as ease, but I've also shown examples of ease, whether it was a gymnast or an ice skater, Muhammad Ali, floating like a butterfly. These are things that either maybe they haven't seen a lot, but it's very clear. Like high diving is another example of ease, or watching Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers, Gene Kelly dance. Other excellent examples of ease that suddenly quickly parlay into beauty as well. So that's how we've approached it in the past. And that's how I've done it in my class. and it's something that has stayed with them. Sometimes I also talk about just the idea that less is more, with just dropping all of the extra working really hard. And I might have them do part of their monologue with, they might be employing clowns or bad habits. And then I ask them to drop all of that and just find stillness and speak with a sense of ease. And it just comes out very differently. And you can sense that the amount of space that they're taking up, that they're in a very Michael Chekhovian way, they're expanding and rising, and their presence has become much more prolific because of that, and it imbues in them a sense of confidence that maybe they didn't have before. So that's how I would approach it in my Acting 2 class, and I'll be teaching probably in a distance ed format in the fall. So I'm going to have to see how I can transfer that to a distance ed format as well. So hopefully I'll have room to be able to do this as well, and hopefully it transfers.
Beautiful. So I have an offering for us for that is distance driven, and it is about this process and finding a feeling of ease with this process of working through the computer into cyberspace. And so to begin with it, to experience it in its polarity first, if we really concentrate and really try to connect with each other through the camera, through the lens, through the computer. Let's just try that now. Just really work for a moment on trying to connect with each one of us. We're in California, we're in Florida, we're in Israel, we're in New Mexico, and we're in Texas. So imagine that we can, through the computer, reach each other and contact each other. Maybe radiate to each other. And now stop that, turn that off, and imagine that the computer is simply a witness to this process, and it is not at all the means by which we're communicating. But imagine that through our ideal artistic center, we have the ability, and if you just sense and maybe even place spatially, geographically, where those places are for you. You know, where is California? Where is Florida? Where is Israel? You know, where is Texas? Where is New Mexico? And imagine that in this, we can perhaps even unite in the higher sphere. We can feel somewhere, as I'm facing this direction, I am in effect facing toward Eric, and I have Susan and Ophir in my backspace, east and south. So where is that for you? Maybe you can feel that in there, and imagine that you are able easily to create a sense of connection, a gathering point, a meeting. And then you can gaze at the computer and see if you can sustain easily this connection that goes directly to your partners here, beyond the computer. And go ahead and release that consciously, but if you want to work on sustaining it, any feedback, any experience of, you know, even if we switch back for a moment of trying to connect through the computer, what do you sense in your energy? What happens in your energy field? What happens to the feeling of ease? How would you describe the distinction, or did you experience a difference?
Yes, the circumference became around the computer and in my room, it became vibrant. It wasn't dead space. And there was something of an image that came up of almost bringing the golden hoop back down into the space. So there was, yeah, definitely felt alive. And it will be a much different experience than what I did just recently of teaching, which was only me and I stopped at the face of the computer. So that's really great. Yeah, thank you.
Well, I think for me, certainly we're used to looking at pictures. And I think if we were doing that exercise, we'd want to focus on one person at a time to see if all those eyes were coming at you. We were sort of doing it independently. So I wasn't sure where other people's eyes or energy were going. But for us that are teaching, it certainly does feel like if you can look there and think you are reaching out to everyone and including everyone, and certainly with this distance ed, you know, I have students that are still on our campus in the dorm, but other students that are in different states because of where they went. So, you know, to think about that we're going in all directions, as Susan said, you open up your circle of focus, and it seems like you're much more accepting and taking them in and almost gathering them. Which I think is a much more positive way to approach it than, oh, I'm furrowing my brow and I'm trying to look over here on the screen at that person who doesn't see your eyes at all. They see somebody looking, you know, down. And that's like just training yourself to look right into the camera so that they feel you are connecting with them, even though you're not looking at them at the time. So I think that's a great exercise.
The concentration becomes an opening and not closing. That's a great way of doing it, of teaching and communicating through this.
This has become a great sandbox for me in terms of thinking about how pedagogy works with Zoom, and being able to do things like connect with another person. I started this with the gallery view, so I couldn't really see anybody that well. And then when I found that I switched to the speaker view, I did a lot better with that. So some of this is just the working with Zoom. It also helped me to take my own picture down because there's this Zoom phenomenon where we're always checking ourselves. And so I did that, and that helped a lot to be able to create that kind of connection. I also wonder if maybe, you know, looking up where your camera is, so you look like you're maybe looking somewhere between that person and that and the camera view, you might be able to actually look like you can look into my eyes better this way than if I was looking down like this. So there's some things about it technically that work for me. I'm in my house with my kids and things going on. It's a little bit hard to concentrate, but this is very valuable to me, and to continue to think about it through the Michael Chekhov lens, where awareness is not just here, but it's also all around, and it's above and possibly even below the crust of the earth, that there's a certain amount of space that we take up that goes along with that. So that was very insightful.
Great. There are there are a lot of studies being done on the impact of this communication through the internet in this general format, and the suggestions are that the high level of stress that results from it is in part due to the fact that we are so accustomed to reading multiple aspects of the being for our communication, and that this is interrupted, and so the brain is actively searching for these clues and these cues that we normally have. And with the difference in these elements we've just spoken about, the focal points, you know, speaking over here, the catching of the self, the chronic draw to look at yourself in the process, and the lack of the phasing and the timing and the all those sorts of adjustments produce a brain fatigue. And so this feeling of ease that we're looking at today is going to be really central to building that endurance, the ability to work in these online capacities, and building the capacities of people who we're trying to teach or communicate with, building this feeling of ease in keeping this sense of openness, radiance, and connection. And also, once we understand that once we give ourselves permission to not extract or need to extract all of the information out of the flat screen, but to begin to trust that we can receive this information from the intangible sources, then we are creating all those skill sets that the theater of the future is going to call for, because what Michael Chekhov's technique has to offer is going to be increasingly in demand, and how we're going to lead the development of the Chekhov technique to help us increase the richness of communication through this means. We need to really activate those intangible communication skills that are so central to our work. And so give ourselves a feeling of ease, not to have to get all the information, and know that we can sense more, through the intangible field.
Well, good. I had a question because it came up when Susan was leading the ease exercise, because I know this has happened for me, so I'm curious from other teachers, particularly when you were putting the focus on yourself and really, working with yourself with a sense of ease, and you brought beauty into it. And I know what students have reported back to me is that this has helped so much with their self-esteem, their confidence to do work like this, because they're realizing, you look at that freckle that has bothered you for years, and you realize it has a beauty to it, and you can have an ease about accepting that. And it just struck me when we were doing that, when Susan, you were leading that, it reminded me of students reporting that back to me. So I'm just curious if anyone's had that, because I know one of our applications at the NMCA is that all of these techniques are vital in everyday life, not just for theater. And we know we're training human beings to be wonderful, artistic, creative people out in the world that might not have a career in theater per se, but will use those skills in other ways to benefit, all throughout society. So just curious if you've had that report from students at all about that self-acceptance, that ease, about, feeling better about themselves, their confidence level, that sort of thing.
I don't know if I told it already, but it happened to me a few times, but it's connected to the I see, but with ease also, that some students came to me, high school students, and said to me that they went to a job interview and they were very tense, and they just put the sun here, and they relaxed and got the job. It happened a few times. So yeah, it's connected to ease.
Yes, I've had students report, and it was with working with expansion and contraction, and working with what images are coming up when you are in a sense of contraction. And one particular girl it was really talking about, images of feeling like a victim, feeling, this way. And when she was allowed to expand into it and invite that sense of ease, then there was an acceptance of some of her self-biography and who she was. And so that feeling of, absolute acceptance was eye-opening for her. And I can't remember exactly what she said, but it was something like just having permission, that she was given back the right to be able to operate in the world with ease and gentleness, as opposed to fighting. So I think I'm making up some of what she said, but that was what I gathered from it. Yeah.
Part of the process, these sort of slower, much more personal work that we do in certain programs, the task was to find the body part that you liked least, if it held shame around it, whether it was, fat or scar or too bony or whatever it might be, to find that part and then to study it. It's like the observation exercise and concentration exercise, to study that part for about 5 minutes, to just stay with it, and then and start looking for that, feeling of beauty and ease about it, and then find one person to show off your part to, Look at my part. This is my belly fat. Isn't it cool? And it's always, it's incredible fun. And it brings, you can feel the lightness and ease just come into the room and lift out of the personal atmospheres of the people. I'm pretty sure we did do it in our first DVD, because we had part of the requirement was that you come in a bikini, or you come in a bikini or one of those little speedos or bikinis, which I just would never wear, never in my life. Even when I had a figure, I never wore a bikini. So that, and I had to be in a bikini too, so to teach that. So that was really a big digging deeply into finding a feeling of ease with your own body and finding that feeling of beauty to appreciate it.
The whole Zoom is an exercise of the feeling of ease, because I sometimes can't hear you because of the connection, and you're going to say something and I'm feeling of ease. Yeah, so
One of the things I've asked for after teaching this lesson is that after we're finished, you can see that these students feel transformed, and that I ask them to leave the room with a feeling of ease. And it's really great to see them. Maybe they came in feeling very heavy, burdened, and it's great to see them leave on a break, or if it's near the end of class, to see them kind of lightly glide out of the room with a sense of transformation and transcendence into a new place. So that's where I've seen it really affect these students. I wanted to ask if the one area in beef that I struggle with teaching is form, and coming up with tangible examples, tangible exercises that illustrate form. I know what form is. It seems like it's more of a concept and less of something that's like a verb or something you can do. So I would be really interested in hearing any examples or any ideas about how to approach teaching form.
Well, I got a question for Wil, because we decided we wanted to try and keep these short. And what I'm wondering is, should we wrap this up at this? And because we are planning on doing one today, we wanted to focus on ease as our central thing, and doing one on form, where we absolutely will do that. What do you think, Wil?
Yeah, so we're trying to save that for one of our next sessions.
Great. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, Susan.
I wondered if you might be able to maybe break down why I'm feeling ease when we were talking about placing two of the people behind me, so my backspace. I certainly know I felt the opposite, the polar of that, when I was teaching on Zoom, a couple weeks ago. So I was always here. So, but for some reason, that really, the feeling of having people behind me and with me, or the golden hoop, anything that's coming to mind for you?
Well, absolutely. For me, I sense that we really go into an intense contraction that actually literally constricts our circulation and um, and and increases tension when we're trying to communicate. When we're inwardly reaching for information, and then we're reaching for information from them, because as we teach, we scan, we share, and we're checking constantly, and we're looking at all the clues that tell us who's got a question, who's getting it, who's not paying attention. We're assessing all of that while we're speaking and sharing the information. And now we're trying to find it in, the Hollywood squares, or in the, trying to read who's the one with the, and that definitely shrinks us. It condenses us. And the moment we open up and allow ourselves to connect and just trust we are connecting directly with each other. We're not using electromagnetic frequencies to do it. We're using a higher force. We're using our heart force. We're using our radiant spirit, creative spirit, our higher ego, to do that. And we're trusting that we can actually communicate and receive information. And so it also leads me to one other thing that produces a great feeling of ease, really, is crossing the threshold. And when we're sitting in the house where we make love, where we eat, where we fight, where we rant, rave, where we garden, all of that, it's hard to separate ourselves from the artistic process. And so before we begin this, if we can actually baptize this space that we're in right now as an artistic space and cross that threshold. For me, Susan, when you took us into looking, into the space as making friends with, of course, is one of the primary feeling of ease exercises, to make friends with the space. And when we're working in our own personal familiar space, it's really easy to forget that, to say, before I begin, let me create, a personal PG for this event. And maybe my PG is going to be something like this, that reminds me to connect, to stay connected. It reminds me not to dive into the computer. And with that gesture, before I go, baptize the space, cross the threshold, whatever way we want to designate where we are and the time that we're in, with that sacredness that crossing a threshold brings to the artist. When we create a feeling of sacredness, the inner artist immediately senses a feeling of ease. They feel honored, they feel respected, and they feel safe. That they're whatever they can do, whatever we do. I brought this little trophy to practice my feeling of ease with, and it's something that my grandchildren got for my husband and myself when they came and visited us in Hollywood. So they were just little tykes, and it's not something I'd actually like to break. I like this thing, I don't want to break it. And so being able to move it with a feeling of ease and explore it and test the balance and things like that. just bringing in a special little sacred thing into my sacred artistic space, I could be uneasy. I could have picked something that I don't care about, but we want to build the ability to have a feeling of ease with high stakes. So sometimes creating, baptizing your personal space into an artistic space while your cat, dog, spouse, little child is running around isn't necessarily a safe thing to do. So, but it makes a huge difference. It can make a huge difference. I think those are all elements of why this working with the imagination to connect beyond this little camera lens is uplifting, opening, healing, connecting.
I think you may already know this, but I just found this out when we were doing a search for a colleague in January. But when we were recording the Zoom sessions, you also have an option of having a transcript that is actually automatically done for you. And I don't know if that's a way for you to be able to take this article, send it out to the world, because this is invaluable. It's like you said, yes, the Chekhov work is going to be extraordinarily applicable and desirable. So I just wanted to share that with you. You didn't know that that tool was available in Zoom.
Yes. All right, my dears.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Nice to meet you.
So much.
Thank
It's
you.
wonderful to connect with you all.
Thank you.
My favorite person is...
One minute on your imaginary bodies.
We took a scene from Golden Boy. We all did the same.